Have you ever made a massive, catastrophic mistake at work, felt the crushing weight of the blame, and then kind of wondered if the deck was just mathematically stacked against you from the start? Well, before we uncover the terrifying truth behind the errors you make every single day, go ahead and subscribe, because today's explainer, it's going to completely shatter your perception of accountability.
Wrap your head around this jarring contradiction. 12 people died in a horrific train collision in Camila, Bangladesh. Why? Because 2 men fell asleep on the job. The official cause was immediately labeled as human error. But what if those 2 men are actually the least responsible people in this entire story? Stick with me here, because we all operate inside these deeply flawed systems. Systems that demand absolute human perfection but provide literally zero safety nets when we inevitably slip up.
As an investigative reporter for the Human Error News Network, I've been analyzing a really harrowing string of railway disasters in Bangladesh. And what I uncovered is a chilling reality. The system is rigged to fail. You see, human error is almost always a symptom of a massive structural failure. And I want to show you exactly how to spot these hidden traps so we can prevent these exact same fatal flaws from hiding in your own workplace.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the myth of human error, and look at the terrifying macro-level data that sets the stage for all of this.
3,656. That is a staggering number. That's how many people have died at level crossings in Bangladesh over just the last decade, with one recent year hitting a decade high of 1,180 fatalities alone. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can so many people just not see a massive train coming, right? Well, the answer isn't individual carelessness. It's actually systemic, deep-rooted infrastructure rot.
And this brings us to the folks standing directly in harm's way. Frontline workers, like Mohammed Shaheen, they know that when an accident happens, they are the ones held responsible. They're out there staring down the tracks with absolutely no resources. Essentially, they're acting as human shields for boardroom failures. I mean, have you ever felt like a human shield for your own company's broken processes?
Moving into Section 2, Ghosts at the Gate. Let's shift our angle slightly and look at how this builds into an undeniable structural pattern of neglect.
This breakdown brilliantly illustrates the sheer fragility of the whole network. Out of the 1,468 official crossings, only 25% are properly staffed with gatekeepers. Think about that. That leaves 3/4 of the entire network totally unstaffed or just irregularly monitored, leaving life and death entirely up to chance. If your business relied on a 25% safety functionality rate, you'd be bankrupt by Tuesday. But here, the cost is actual human lives.
Now, let's break down the fatal Camila crash to see the deadly mechanics operating behind the scenes. Informal shift swaps ended up forcing 2 temporary laborers, Nazmal and Kalsar, to pull a lethal 24-hour awake period. So at 2:44 a.m., completely exhausted and fast asleep, they missed an ongoing train. It slammed right into a bus, tragically killing 12 people.
Which brings us to Section 3, a structurally rigged system. You're probably asking yourself right now, why on earth are these workers pulling 24-hour shifts in the first place? Well, the answer lies in a deeply, deeply broken labor structure.
You see, these gatekeepers, they aren't empowered safety officers. Not at all. They are temporary, heavily underpaid laborers working 365 days a year with absolutely zero holidays. This temporary labor roster creates a crunch-time culture that mirrors the absolute worst corporate burnout you can possibly imagine, except here, the stakes are literally fatal.
If your own workplace operates with single points of failure, you really need to listen closely to this part. Look at the 4 different layers of safety that collapsed in Camila. Yes, the gatekeepers were asleep, but the automatic sirens and signals? They were completely dead. No warning call came from the previous station. And to top it all off, illegal road construction completely blocked the train driver's view. Any single one of these 4 safeguards, if it had actually been functional, might have saved those 12 lives.
Entering Section 4, Ignored Warnings and Blame Games. Because here is the absolutely crucial detail that investigation committees repeatedly try to bury.
Just look at the stark contrast here. While the railway authorities immediately suspended lower-level staff and officially blamed so-called careless gatekeepers, they conveniently ignored the actual cause. They turned a total blind eye to the fact that they were using centuries-old analog signals, dealing with constant power failures, and ignoring thousands of illegal crossings built by local governments. I mean, it is the ultimate corporate cover-up.
Transportation experts like Professor Hadiuzaman actually call these crashes structural killings. And why is that? Because investigation committees just keep focusing on frontline workers instead of addressing the massive administrative design flaws. When leadership flat out refuses to correct the design, the system is mathematically guaranteed to kill again. By the way, if you're finding this explainer valuable so far, hit that share button and send this special report to your network right now.
All right, let's look at Section 5, the automation roadmap. The crucial question we have to answer is, how do we actually correct a system that relies entirely on exhausted, overworked humans to prevent disasters?
Believe it or not, the solution is shockingly attainable. Experts argue that diverting just 2%, literally just 2%, of railway investment away from massive, flashy expansion projects and into automating level crossings could drastically drop accident rates. 2%! Think about your own organization for a second. How often do you guys chase flashy new projects while completely starving the critical, basic infrastructure that actually keeps the lights on?
Together, we can outline a really practical roadmap for replacing this failing human oversight with technological safety nets. Step 1. We classify the risk of all crossings. Then we implement automated siren and signal warning systems that trigger way before a train ever arrives. Finally, we transition to grade separation systems, things like overpasses. We absolutely must build systems that assume humans are going to be tired, distracted, and prone to mistakes.
And hey, the financial argument here is completely bulletproof. Evaluating the economic benefits proves that investing in resilient crossing infrastructure is vastly cheaper than constantly cleaning up the wreckage or predictable disasters. It prevents those endless emergency repairs, it eliminates massive compensation payouts, and most importantly, it finally stops that vicious cycle of structural killings.
Let's bring this all home in Section 6, Fixing Your Broken Systems. We really need to bring this macro-level problem right back to your own daily life.
We have to stop blaming frontline workers for boardroom failures. I want you to take this framework back to your own team so you can actively advocate for automated safety nets that catch human error long before it actually happens. Do not wait for your own version of a catastrophic collision to realize that your infrastructure was built on a flimsy foundation of exhausted people and wishful thinking.
Think about this for a second. How many invisible human gatekeepers is your own daily routine relying on right now? And honestly, what happens when they inevitably blink? This has been a special report from the Human Error News Network. But correcting this crisis forces us to ask an even darker question. What if the automated systems designed to save us are being built right now with the exact same blind spots?